Do I have it? I can't hear anything for some reason.
Is this
Oh,
better?
now I can.
Okay. 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 Cool.
Oh.
Look, I've got we made this all creepy.
Oh, cool. Here, I'm gonna move in. Hold on.
And Death is trying to get Charlotte to bed. Oh. No. Seriously, maybe it's time to start investing in the click. Okay. Look, I got a mask too.
Oh, wow. Oh, I'm actually gonna reference. I actually have to grab that too.
Okay. Haha. Great, we can start with masks and be like, welcome to our Halloween special. Right?
What?
So we can both wear masks at the very beginning, be like, welcome to our Halloween special, and then take them off and get started,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, still. Maybe I'm gonna test one thing to see if I can prop this up higher, because somebody complained about it on my last one. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Like level your camera. Okay.
Does that look better?
I think it looks okay to me.
Okay, it doesn't look that different. Oh well, this is fine. And it's. Did you hear that?
Yeah. Then you hear this.
Yep. Okay.
This is
oh yeah.
So stupid. How do we want to start? Do you want to start with like a maniacal laugh or something, or?
I don't want to make the laugh.
What?
Or, do we have to record the laugh? I can't maniacally laugh.
Oh, okay.
without context, I don't know.
I'll just
That is a very scary mask. Okay. I think it's actually really funny if we're just being really casual about it. Like there's nothing unusual about what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Oh, let's do that. Let's just start really casually.
Okay.
All right. I'll start us off. Oh, it keeps slipping over my glasses though. Hey guys, welcome to the Lobro Show. This is our special Halloween spooktacular. Not of Spooky Doom. John and I are ready to go for the holiday.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take this mask off now.
I'll take mine off too.
It creeped the crap out of the kids a couple years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you ever, pro tip, you ever want a really easy way to mess with trick-or-treaters, put a mask on like that, answer the door, and don't say a word the entire time the trick-or-treaters are getting candy. It always
right.
So anyway, we wanted to do a special Halloween recommendations show where we talk about 3 of our top recommendations for Halloween. We'll each share a family-friendly recommendation, a beginner horror, and a intermediate horror recommendation. We'll go in turn and we'll each spend 3 minutes or less talking about each recommendation.
Sounds good.
Okay, I am going. Oh,
I haven't drafted
took.
this at all, so I might be a mess.
I'll cut it down as needed. Hang on, let me get my timer set up. This is just to keep us on track.
Okay.
So why don't we start with your first recommendation, your family friendly. Let's start with
I
your
need to
family
look up
recommendation.
what's the title of that episode. See, I'm very unprepared for this.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna look it up right now. It'll take like 2 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, good grief.
Parks and Rec Greg Pikitis episode is titled Greg Pikitis. It's season 2, episode 7.
Okay. So my first recommendation, or I guess Halloween favorite, is season 2, episode 7 of Parks and Recreation, called Greg Pikitis. It is the Halloween episode of the second season of that show. It's probably my favorite sitcom ever, and probably the episode that made me love that series and all of those characters the most.
Yeah, so what happened? This, I will also say, of sitcoms that have come out recently, Parks and Rec is one that my wife and I have watched. Maybe we've watched the whole series maybe 3 or 4 times through. And the second season is great because even though Ben and Chris haven't joined the show yet, it's the season that really establishes the characters, and it establishes Pawnee as well as
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Greg Pikitis, the character that this show centers around, doesn't only sort of appears again in the series, but he's kind of just a tool to get to really know Leslie, and you kind of learn quickly how much she actually cares about Pawnee, which kind of sets the stage for her for the rest of the season. But it's probably where Amy Poehler finally felt like she had full license to fully realize just how crazy that character was, and also gave Chris Pratt probably his best moment in the series up to that point, when he interrogates Greg Pikitis and says that he's allergic to jerks.
Yes. Yeah, it's such a great moment that Burt Macklin, FBI agent, is going to keep appearing throughout the rest of the series. And Leslie's reaction to the Parks and Rec office being vandalized is one of the greatest reactions in the entire series as well. It's so funny. What else do you really love about this episode?
It's just really funny. I feel like the whole cast is firing on all cylinders, and yeah, it's just, and it's a good Halloween. It's something I come back to usually when it's around Halloween time. Like, oh yeah, I want to watch that episode again.
Yeah, like, and you know what? Also, the B plot isn't bad either. It's with Ron Swanson and Ann Perkins, Tom Haverford, all going to a party.
Right.
Where Anne is throwing a party, both her nurse friends and it's really awkward. And
yeah,
it's nothing to sneeze at. Yeah,
why people
that's
go to escape rooms when you could just go to a party.
Yeah. All right.
Same for me.
All right.
Side note, it was like doing that thing, like there was one point where you were talking and it was doing that thing where it like slowed down and it was like making that weird warped sound. Oh, no. I don't know if that will show up in you know what I'm talking about, right?
It was like a lot in that. I've never actually had that problem when I've edited the actual video. Sorry right now, but I'm going to assume that it's actually going to come across better.
Okay, I won't worry about it.
All right, cool. All right, I'm going to start the timer again. Okay, so
my first recommendation.
Yeah, so my first recommendation, my fun for the whole family, is going to be a very classic Disney movie. Actually, the second half of a Disney movie. In 1949, Disney's animation department wasn't quite firing on all cylinders, and a lot of the movies they released during the war and the years following the war were really more like collections of shorts, because short films thrown together to make a feature-length film was a lot easier to produce at that time. And one of the movies they released in the year 1949 was The Adventures of Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad. It's only an hour long, and the first half centers around Mr. Toad, but I'm really here to talk about the second half, the last 30 minutes, Ichabod Crane, or a loose adaptation of Sleepy Hollow, Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Yes.
So this is, because of the way we were raised, this is a short that we watched a lot as children, very young children. So much so, it was actually one of our Halloween party favorites when we had actual neighborhood Halloween parties, you know, the crazy Halloween parties you have when you're 5 years old. We watched it all together. Kids covered their eyes and everything. Yeah. And I recently revisited this short, and we're planning on actually playing it for a Halloween party we're going to be hosting this year. And it's kind of pretty cool how much it still holds up. I'll admit there's one awkward line in Brom Bones' song where he said, singing about the Headless Horseman. He says, he doesn't care if you're black or white or even red. He just wants your head.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't remember until just now. And I never heard it until like literally 2 days ago, but that'll fly over your kids' heads. I'll also say it's a little weird that Katrina, the girl, is basically a trophy. She doesn't really have any characterization besides being the object of affection, the thing to be won between Brom Bones and Ichabod Crane. But the animation still holds up. It's really delightful. The songs are pretty cool. And the last section where the Headless Horseman chases Ichabod is really good. Like, lots of good slapstick comedy mixed in with some fairly intense stuff. You know, might be a little scary for kids that are like 3 or 4. But there's so many visual gags going on that I highly recommend it. You can rent it for $3 on Amazon Prime.
And I think the characters are also so distinct and as well.
Yeah. Ichabod, yeah, I agree. Like,
especially Ichabod
is really
yeah,
lanky and skinny and has very good movements, and you know all about him, even though he doesn't have any lines. Brom Bones is also really good as basically a 1700s meathead character.
Yeah.
The kind of person that would call people eggheads if the term existed back then. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Even Ichabod's horse is right.
Yep.
This horseman is so well designed as well. Yeah. Excuse me, I am sick.
You are.
I've actually missed the last 2 days of work.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. All right. So John, what's your beginner horror recommendation?
Okay, so my beginner horror recommendation is Wait Until Dark. This is a classic Audrey Hepburn movie. I wish I had looked this up. Hold on, I'm starting over. I'm going to look up what year it was released and who directed it. Okay. Wait Until Dark. Okay. Okay. Is Wait Until Dark. Horror that was released in 1967, and it's based on the play by Frederick Knott. Is the lead role of Susie Hendricks in the film, and Alan Arkin plays opposite her. It's hard to talk about this movie without too many spoilers. Essentially, Susie is blind and she's trapped in an apartment, and there are out to get her, I guess you could say. They're after something that she owns, and she is essentially she is of use to them, but also somewhat expendable to them in getting that thing that they want. So this is basically Susie taking on multiple men as a blind woman and trying to get ahead of their schemes and their tricks, outwit them, and even outlast them. Travels their plot. What's so remarkable about this movie is it's such a pedestrian and like something that, granted, not everyone's blind, but in terms of what's the conflict comes very slowly and almost sneakily, and once Susie's in the thick of this problem, she's in so deep that you can't, like, you just fear so much for her life. And Audrey Hepburn's performance is also it's a 60s film, but it's still so enrapturing just to watch her. And I remember seeing it for the first time. I was just astonished that she wasn't blind. I honestly thought she was blind. The way that the film climaxes is one of the most exciting and terrifying sequences, modern or classic movies, that I can remember. There's one final jump scare in it that I think is jump scares as a whole, but I think this is the original literal jump scare, and it's still one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen on screen. So that would be my intermediate horror recommendation.
Nice. I have not seen this film, and so my wife was shocked to hear that, and I need to go see it. I'm going to see it now because this sounds really...
It's a classic, yes.
Yeah.
It's also fun to see live productions of it because there's usually a whole sequence of it that's actually in the dark.
Oh yeah, didn't you see this in a play as well?
I've seen it several times live, yeah, and it's...
You said it was I remember you talking about it, how legitimate scary it was, right?
Yeah, it's really scary because usually the director makes the choice. I think in the original production, the choice was for the theater to be pitch black, no stage lights, no house lights. It's just completely pitch black, and you can just hear the characters moving around, which is terrifying.
Yeah, I understand that. Oh, okay. We're gonna go on to my beginner horror recommendation. And
okay.
For mine, video game. And this is a video game called Layers of Fear. It's available on Steam currently, actually, for only $5. It's normally $20. You can also buy it on the Xbox Live Arcade or on PlayStation Online. It's a small independent horror game, and the reason I'm recommending it as a beginner horror game is because, unlike a lot of horror games, this one does not rely on gore at all, and it's not as intense as a lot of other horror games in the sense that it is actually impossible for your character to die in it. And it's really more like a psychological thriller. So the premise of the game is you play a painter who is in a mansion, and they're dead set on trying to complete a painting, his painting, and it needs to be the greatest painting ever created. And so he's very psychologically disturbed, and you can tell that something has happened to his family that hasn't quite been resolved. And what's so creepy about this game is, as you're trying to complete it, the way it works is you wander around the house trying to find pieces or things that he will use to complete the painting, like the hairs on his brush, the things he's going to mix to create paint, what he's going to use to create the canvas. But you soon start figuring out, like, these things might be stretched skin for canvas, blood for red paint, etc. And what's really creepy is as you're wandering the house, it changes while you wander around it.
Oh.
Weird moments where you'll enter a room, you'll try to look around for something, and as you turn around, and then you look back, and now there's a doll sitting in the corner that wasn't there before.
Ooh.
Looking around, and things keep changing, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get out of this room? And why do dolls keep appearing everywhere I look? You know, it's like
Ooh.
that. And there's a few occasional very real jump scares that come from his past, the ghosts of his past, if you will. So, and what really sets this game apart, in my opinion, is its design. This mansion is very ornate and nice, and wander it as the game progresses, and as your mental state degresses, it starts falling apart. It's rotting. Music that goes with it is so good too. It's a very good piano. The music is very good too. It's a very haunting piano score that works really well, occasionally intercut with some choral voices.
That sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, I would recommend checking out the trailer for it. Actually, it's very cool the way they do it. I think actually the trailer doesn't quite do the game justice. It kind of sells it as like a balls to the wall thriller, but it's really more of a slow burn. You're just wandering around. And
what's it called one more time?
Layers of Fear.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our horror fan recommendations.
Okay.
What do you got for us, John?
Oh, I'm first. Okay. So my what are we calling this? Intermediate
or adult horror fan?
My intermediate or adult horror recommendation is, I guess, exclusive to people who are in New York City or have access to New York City. It is a experience that you can experience year-round, but is especially popular around Halloween just due to the nature of it. It is the immersive theatrical production called Sleep No More. Sleep No More has been running since 2011, so it's actually quite successful and old and long-running and pretty well-known. And it's almost frequented more by tourists now than it is by New Yorkers, but very often. It's essentially, it's hard to talk about it without, there's a sense of, I guess there's a sense of secrecy with the show. It takes place in the McKittrick Hotel, which is supposedly a hotel that was shut down and only recently reopened to welcome guests to explore it. And essentially what happens inside of it is you are given this mask to wear. You are to remain anonymous throughout the production. You are not to speak, to roam the hotel however you would like. There are over 100 rooms, each one immaculately themed. And essentially what happens inside the hotel is a loose adaptation of Shakespeare's Macbeth with influences of Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca and the real life case of the Paisley witches all weaved together. There are about 20 characters, each of them with 3 hours of material. So altogether, there's over 100 hours of content happening that obviously you're only in there for 3 hours. So that just gives you how much you can actually experience in just one visit. So most people go feeling like they only scratched the surface and there was so much more they wanted to see, but they couldn't. This is not a haunted house. I think that's a very important distinction to make. I think a lot of people go looking to be scared. There are definitely moments that are eerie, creepy, frightening, but it is very much a theatrical experience. There are actors inside. They are acting out. They have a set script that they follow. They move throughout the rooms and interact with other characters, and that's all set in stone. really amazing about it is that you're seeing these intimate and intense, emotional, frightening, violent things, but instead of being separated by this fourth wall, you sitting in the audience, the action on stage, you are free to move about wherever. You can get within literal inches of these characters, and at some point, even acknowledge you, which can also be quite alarming. And there are a few other immersive theatrical productions in New York and in other cities, but this is the one that I feel like really put it on the map, and it's got quite a spooky vibe and is quite popular around Halloween. So if you're ever in New York City, it's definitely an adult. It's got a lot of adult themes in it. There are some very intense situations, but that would be my recommendation for intermediate horror.
Sleep No More. How many times have you been there?
Over 10.
Over 10? And every time it's totally different for you, isn't it? Because there's 100 rooms.
Right. Well, yeah, and and characters move throughout the different rooms too. You don't just stay in one room. You can usually attach onto a character and then follow them and see what happens.
Nice. Okay. All right. For my last recommendation, I'm going to go with The Babadook, a movie.
I love The Babadook.
Yeah, I know. It was released in 2014 it was directed by Jennifer Kent. It was her first movie, and it was a very small movie, only $2 million budget. It stars Essie Davis and Noah Wiseman, and John and I watched it together at Halloween a couple of years ago. How was that experience?
It was so scary.
It was scary. I know for some people, they don't find it that scary. The movie was kind of marketed as a monster movie, but it really isn't.
No, it's scary.
Yeah. The basic premise is you have... Oh, give me a sec. I gotta make sure I get this right. Okay. The basic premise is you have Amelia, a single mother who's raising her 6-year-old son, Samuel. And Amelia's husband died in a car crash as he was driving Amelia to the hospital to deliver Samuel. And so she is still grieving for her lost husband and unfortunately holds some resentment towards Samuel for, in a way, being the cause of her husband's death. And the truth is, Samuel's kind of a terror. He's that kid that if you have a 6-year-old, you probably don't let your 6-year-old kid play with them, and you probably won't show up for his birthday party. You know, he's not a likable, cute 6-year-old. He's hard to love. And that's kind of part of the terror of the movie, is a parent who is struggling with not only providing a good family life, but even a loving family for her child. And also a fear of intentionally or unintentionally, or say also a fear of unintentionally or even maybe intentionally harming your child. But the plot really kicks off when Samuel wants a bedtime story read to him, and he finds a mysterious book called Mr. Babadook. And Amelia has no idea where the book came from, but she starts reading it. And the book more or less says, once the Babadook finds you, he will never leave. And then weird things start happening. Samuel is terrified of this pop-up book, and he starts becoming obsessed with it. And it starts affecting Amelia as well, in that she starts feeling like the Babadook, a fictional character, or she starts feeling like the Babadook, a fictional character, is watching her. And it's a very slow burn movie, but some of the scares in it are really good.
What I like about that movie is there are no jump scares.
Yeah.
It actually is all within your head, and it actually, like, if it wants to show you something, it very intentionally shows it to you. It doesn't pan away. You just have to look at it.
Yeah.
And also, it also has like a really deep actually meaningful message, I think, too, which is rare
Yeah,
modern day horror movies.
like there's this. That's what I love about this movie is it's a horror movie that has character development. It has theme. It has like a moral to the story. Um, all really good stuff that you don't always get in horror movies. And I just love the movie for it. I revisited it recently. The soundtrack is good and memorable. The Even though the Babadook himself is made on the cheap, very obviously, they get so much mileage out of him. And um and a lot of the scares are pretty creative. And you go throughout most of the movie, I'd say the first two acts, before you understand whether or not the Babadook is even real or not, which is pretty cool. Or do you think that
Tell
might be
us for watching it.
what? Sorry, you're cutting out.
Oh, I think we should probably don't you think we should tell the story of
Yeah.
what happened?
Yeah, why don't you tell that?
Um, so we were watching it and basement apartment at the time. So the three of us were watching it. What I didn't know was that our younger brother was on his way something off at the apartment, like while we were watching the movie. And we were watching it on Netflix, and a couple times the movie would pause and we'd get that spinning loading circle of death. And I don't want to spoil anything, but in the movie there is some knocking that happens, and it's pretty meaningful. And and it happens a lot. And at this really scary part of the movie, we lost the connection. The movie pauses and starts loading, and at the exact moment, and this is like one of probably the scariest moment in the movie, at the exact moment it paused, our younger brother showed up at the apartment and knocked on the door. And that was the most terrifying experience in a movie I've ever had. I was like, I think I fell off the couch and like covered myself in a blanket as if that was going to protect me.
Yeah, I think
I was terrified.
That moment, it was so great.
And I was like screaming, "Don't open the door! Don't open the door!"
Don't let him in! Don't let him in!
Yeah, exactly. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it was so good. Oh, there you go, Jess. No worries. Okay, so yeah, that is our Halloween recommendations for this year. Let us know how you like them. Give them a watch. It's a good time of year to revisit those things. And let us know your own Halloween recommendations. I'm always looking for some new things to check out.
Me too.
Yeah. So, if you like the video, like it, subscribe to it, comment on it, share it. All these things really help us out with getting more views and more people watching our channel. Sometimes we've gotten comments like, "Man, you guys deserve way more views than you get," or "Your channel has better production quality than people with way more subscribers than you." If you've had that thought, there is a way you can fight that for us. So please fight that battle for us.
And also, if there's anything you specifically want us to talk about, tell us, because it would probably motivate us to make content if we know that there's something specifically that somebody's waiting on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, follow us both on Twitter. You can follow me at JLO8907, JLOW8907.
And I'm JON_LOW.
Yeah. So from John and Jake of the Lowbro Show, we'll catch you later.
Bye. Okay.
I think that was a good.
Yeah. Stop.